It is the home state of two former Nigerian heads of state, but because it houses three major hydroelectric dams in Nigeria, I mean the Kanji, Shiroro, and the Zungeru. It is also the state with the largest landmass in Nigeria. It's pegged at 86,000 kilometers square. But how that has translated into an Algerian, I beg your pardon, prowess is something my guest may need to respond to. My guest is a sitting member of parliament representing Chachanga Federal Constituency at the House of Representatives. Is not new to contestations at the top level. I recall the one he had where he vied for the speakership of the House of Representatives and came second, a close one by the way, to the winner and current speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila. These days, my guest has set his sights on another target. This one, the top political seat in Niger State. I have the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Niger State, Honorable Mohammed Umar Bago, joining me live from Mina. Welcome to the Ballot. I'd like to welcome you to the Ballot. Honorable, can you hear me?
There's no volume.
Can you hear me? Let's see if we can re-establish contact there, if you can hear me. We seem to be having some issues with audio there. Let me just attempt to see if we can re-establish that. If you can hear me now, please indicate. There's something we call in local parlance there, hype man. I just hyped you. I wish you got that. But then I'd like to welcome you to tonight's program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I did a cursory look at your blueprints, and you seem rather strong on pushing out plans for security, infrastructural, and socio-economic development of Niger State. You captured all of these in your strategic plan. One you said would rebrand and birth a new Niger State. All impressive on paper, I must say. I mean, but having a plan is different from having a goal. I'm sure you must have surpassed that foundational level of planning in your current bid. How did you avoid that concept of paralysis of analysis, where being able to determine what you need to definitely focus on and what you don't need to focus on, such as unrealistic targets? And again, how do you intend to uncluster some of the prevailing challenges in Niger State to achieve these dream states you talk about, if we're speaking generically now?
Okay, I didn't hear your first question because your mic is off your mouth. It's a little bit far, but I guess you are talking about my plans for the state, if I got you right.
Yes, your dream, creating the dream Niger State that you've touted in your blueprint. You've talked so much about rebranding the state. You've talked about the birth of a new state. I was wondering how you intend to uncluster some of the prevailing challenges in Niger State and perhaps escape, and how you escaped that paralysis of analysis to come up with a definite plan that handles some of these projects that you have for the people.
Okay, first and foremost, how we avoided whatever you call paralysis or something. We are Nigerites and we don't have any other state outside Niger. And as a generation, we know very well that we need to carve a niche for ourselves. And this time around, by the grace of God, the youths have gotten it right. So we have looked at our chances as a nation, as a state. What can we do? What is the difference? What can we do differently? Now, we are ravaged with insecurity, and we are thinking of how to come out of these insecurity issues. We've looked at our mainstay as an economy to be agriculture. How do we make agriculture what it should be in Niger State? How do we tap from the potential of the agriculture we have? We've looked at education. As the bedrock of this society, we need to give everybody equal opportunity to go to basic schools and have basic education. We've looked at health and seen that, okay, public health is a necessity, is not a a luxury. It must be. It's a compulsory thing. We must give the citizens provision and access to public health. We've looked at tourism because of the potentialities of tourism in Niger State. So these are the 5 things we have put as an agenda, and they are achievable.
For whatever time that we have, I hope we can touch on some of these issues that you've raised, because they are quite germane, and like you talked about in your blueprint, these are the issues you'd like to really focus on. So why don't we start with insecurity that you started with? And speaking more specifically now, I am rather intrigued with your approach, you know, to curbing insecurity in Niger State, because I read that part of your manifesto. Your plan is an amalgam of a kinetic and non-kinetic response structure. It seeks to incorporate traditional and local institutions. You talk about connecting with these groups, but I'm not so clear, or I did not grasp the concept of how you intend to do that. So, truth be told, and you and I know this, that we still get reports or pockets of reports of security breaches across...
I can't hear you. It's too far.
That's rather sad.
Can you put your mic on your mouth?
Okay, no, it's actually there. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's better and very clear.
Oh, fantastic. So I said I took a look at your blueprint on security, and now it's an amalgam of the kinetic and non-kinetic response structure, which seeks to incorporate traditional and local institutions. You talk about connecting with these groups, but it's not so clear on the methodology and how you intend to do that. And I said we still get reports of pockets of security breaches across Niger State, whether we're talking of attacks from terrorists, kidnappers and bandits, whether we're talking about cattle rustlers and rampaging X-Men. But what I want you to give to me is a clearer picture of how your security plan is likely to fit into that of the central government, I mean the federal government, and evoke the kind of activities capable of giving the results that you hope for in Niger State.
Okay, Niger State is provided into 3 geopolitical political zones, again, Zone A, Zone B, Zone C. And incidentally, the first non-kinetic approach has been implemented in Zone A, the Nupe-speaking area, and 99.9% they are free from all these vices. Now, when you go to Zone C, where you have borders with Zamfara, Kebbi and everything, it wasn't like this before. They are applying that thing and it's yielding results. When you come to this other zone, yeah, you can also see that it's working. It means you are bringing traditional institutions to governance, to give them responsibility and roles. And how do you do that? Everybody that lives in a society, you take the census of the population, you know exactly who is new, who is not there, what they do, what they don't do. And you work with the security agencies, and you know, with that, you have information about everybody. It makes you plan, it makes you understand exactly where our challenges are. And this is exactly what we're going to do. And by the grace of God, it's going to yield this thing. Then secondly, when you talk about rustling of cows, the Fulani herdsmen are the ones that suffer most and the ones that are perpetuating it. Now, when you give them the ranger job, you know, you equip them, give them facility, train them, and you know, give them communication gadgets to give you information of and track movement of these rustlers. It's easy. You know, you empower them, you bring them to governance, you bring them to system. And again, these Fulani people must not be cattle rearers. You know, you have to provide them schools, let them understand they can be pilots, they can be engineers, they can be doctors, and so on and so forth. So you give them provision and you provide the services to them. Honestly speaking, they will come on board, and by the grace of God, it is going to help us completely. So this is the approach.
And I hear you again. You also talked about education, and in terms of education, I mean, that's when you talk about socio-economic development, and you know, and now education helps. I'm interested in how your plan establishes that nexus between harnessing human capital and sustaining and creating sustainable development, which education does. But Honorable, let me quickly tell you about a study that I came across. It's a study that was carried out in 10 schools in 3 local government areas, Gurara, Bogi, and Mashugu. I'm very sure I murdered the pronunciations of those names, but I'm quite sure you'll be familiar with them. It was quite an expansive study, and but the data analysis was quite worrisome in terms of girl child. And I know that you have plans for education for every child in Niger State, but in terms of girl child and the problems and identified, such as ignorance by some parents on the value of formal education, early marriages, and the absence of role model, I want to know how you plan, or your educational plan factors these vulnerable and disadvantaged persons. Let me not say that women are generally vulnerable and disadvantaged. The feminists might not like that. But do you have plans to reverse a challenge like the one I've just told you now?
Yeah, first and foremost, there are 3 issues you have discussed. One, the infrastructure of the schools. In this modern age and in this kind of government we want to come on board, we don't have to put government resources in fixing schools. We're going to encourage corporate organizations to put in their CSR in schools, and that will help us have a lot of schools being renovated, being fixed, being built. However, it's not just enough to build schools or classrooms and provide furniture. You need to bring in modern technology of learning. It means it has been proven by the COVID-19 that people did e-learning, and e-learning has come to stay. So access to internet services, access to computers is very, very important. This again will encourage companies, individuals, and so on and so forth to come in and invest and also donate to our cause. Now, when you talk about girl child education, we have said as a policy statement, and we're not going back on that, basic education must be free and compulsory. So, because we are
Honorable, does it in any way
to be working with the traditional institution,
Honorable, does it in any way specifically target the girl child?
Because we are going to be working with the traditional institutions, we understand very well, like, okay, we'll make it a law. It has happened. It has worked before. Girl child education was compulsory, but it was not free. But now it is free and compulsory. And I can tell you the trend will be reversed. Okay. Now, mentorship. When we talk about mentorship, for instance,
yes,
we have said when we come on board the next council election that's going to come up after the tenure of these people expire, we will make it a law that all vice chairmen and secretaries of every local government council must be female.
Oh,
this
fantastic.
will give inspiration to the female gender that, okay, they are participating.
Okay.
And at local government council. And if you are going to have 11 wards with 11 councillors, you make sure that you 50-50 it. This gives also inspiration to girls' child, and it gives other parents hope that their children can also get to that level. These are all ways we are thinking of how to give mentorship to the girl child.
Honorable, I can assure you that Nigerians watching, not just people from Niger State.
Can you speak out? I can't hear.
Yes, Honorable, I said I can
mouth,
assure you that Nigerians watching, and not just people from Niger State, have noted what you've just said. And I hope it's not political rhetoric. They have written it down somewhere and will take you up on your word if you do emerge governor of Niger State to say that during your campaign you promised that all secretaries of local government councils will be female. As a matter,
can you put your mic by your mouth, please? Just hold it.
Okay, so it's rather unfortunate that you can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you keep the mic like that?
I can hear you now. Can you keep the mic like that?
Okay,
please?
fantastic. So I'll leave the mic this way if you can hear me, so it works. I was just reiterating.
Yeah, very
I was just reiterating that the latter part of what you said in your conclusion to my last question, that I wanted to guarantee you that Nigerians generally, and not just people from Niger State, would have noted what you said about making it compulsory for all local government secretaries in local government councils to be female, and they would hold you to that if you do emerge as governor of Niger State. And I'm hoping it's not just mere political rhetoric. But then let me quickly go to tourism, where you talked about the economy. So let's talk economics now. And how your state has fared in terms of the economy, considering a rising domestic debt stock, which as at last September stood at over 98 billion naira, according to the DMO. What creative or innovations do you have in mind to increase the internally generated revenue of your state?
Okay, yeah, you need to understand.
Okay, yeah, you need to understand that we are in a vintage position as a state. We are sitting on 76,000 square kilometers of arable land, and just less than 2,000 or 3,000 square kilometers of this land is being cultivated, mechanized farming. So we're investing so much in mechanized farming, that's in terms of cultivation. We're also going to be doing a lot of ranching and fishery. You understand that Niger State has 4 hydropower dams. The overflow of these dams are going to be dammed again for irrigation. So we're not going to be like waiting for any season to do our farming. This is going to boost our economy. Secondly, fishing. We will be able to feed Nigerians with river fish and export some fish, because the river flows in 4 directions in Niger State. We have 4 major cross of this river Niger in Niger State. So we have River Kaduna, we have River Niger, spanning to almost Kwara. So fishing is going to be also promoted and helped. If you remember, after the COVID-19, the CBN and the NISAL gave a lot of loans, but you know, we had some natural disasters of flood. Niger is a very, very flood-prone state because of this river, so a lot of investment has gone down. So we want to discourage people from even farming during rainy season. It will be a holiday for Nigerites when we are done with these dams and when we start this thing. That is one. Secondly, our proximity to FCT, we've not tapped into it very well. On the right side, you have Tafa local government. On this other side is Suleja local government. This is about 40 kilometers on the 2 sides, and neighboring Abuja. We need to establish industrial parks. What Ogun stands to be for Lagos is what Suleja would be and Tafa be to FCT. We'll be able to bring warehousing, we'll bring in industrial parks completely to come there so that I can thrive. 80% of aluminium work that is done in Abuja is produced in Suleja, Gauraka. The markets are not there. It's not really organized market. On Thursday, if you want to travel to Abuja, you would see the mess and the menace on the highway. People are using the highway for market. We'll build them new market, transfer them out of that, and these markets will be reorganized. And that is way of getting revenue.
Are all laudable. These are all laudable. These are, let me just boost this audio so you can hear me clearly. I don't know if you can hear me clearly now.
Yeah.
Fantastic, great.
Yeah,
so I was just going to say these are all laudable economic programs, and I'm just wondering how you will get the funds to finance some of them. And I'm hoping that maybe you're going to public partnership to achieving some of these key targets. I hear you've been getting lots of endorsements, not surprisingly from the Niger State government and APC faithfuls, but surprisingly from a few of your colleagues in the House of Representatives. I recall the one by Sergio Ogun, who is of the PDP. That's why it's quite surprising. Your confidence of clinching victory in the governorship polls, is it buoyed by your party's performance in the last presidential and National Assembly elections, or is it more of by what you personally represent as a candidate, your character, and whatever consistency you have demonstrated as a representative of your people in the last few years?
It's the two-way.
It's the two-way. First, we've won as a party. We have a presidential we have our president-elect and our vice president-elect. It gives confidence to Nigerians that, okay, if we're in tandem with the federal government where you have your president, it's easier for the government of Niger State to enjoy federal patronage, you know, more than opposition government. That is number one. On the other side, we have campaigned very well. Even before campaigns, we've done very well. We are close to the people. You need to understand very well in quotes, this is a people's mandate. You know, I didn't clinch my ticket because I had a godfather who endorsed me or anything. No.
Okay,
the
great.
people wanted it, both the older people,
Honorable,
both the youth,
unfortunately, we are totally
Niger
out of
State
time. If you can hear me, sorry, I'm so sorry for butting in at this point. But before I let you go, I would like to rush you, even if it's for 60 seconds. I would like to show you a board that I'll put on the screen now. It's called Ticking the Boxes. We will give you some policy, public policy issues, and I'd like for you to adjudge whether you think these issues can be achieved by your administration if given the mandate within 4 years. Please look at the board very quickly. The first one is ending insecurity. Do you think this is something you can...
No, hold on.
No, hold.
Have you seen... Can you see the box now? Can you see it now? Is there a TV set close to where you are, where you can see it?
Yeah, I can see the box.
Fantastic,
Okay, yeah,
fantastic.
I can see the box.
So the first item on the box there says the first target is ending insecurity. Do you think this is a target you can realize in 4 years of your administration if given the mandate? Do you think it's unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter?
I'm not. I'm confident in 4 years we'll put that behind us.
Realistic then. Quickly, let's go to the second one, and I know you've talked about that. So I see you easily going for realistic here. Access to basic education within 4 years. Do you think that is something you can give to a substantial majority of children of school age in Niger State? Is that realistic? Is that unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter?
No, it's realistic. This is one of our major trusts.
A universal health care delivery, do you think that is something else that is realistic in 4 years in Niger State? Do you think it's unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter?
It's realistic.
Realistic, fantastic.
It's
now
realistic.
we'll go to the final item on the board, target on the board. It's urban renewal. Do you think that is something that you can also achieve in 4 years? Do you think it's unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter?
I'm sure I'm going to invite you.
I'm sure I'm going to invite you to Niger in 4 years for you to start commissioning
I would
projects. Yes,
also
we're
hold
going
you
to
to
renew
that. I'm somewhat of a very good investigator when it comes to issues like this. So we'll see when it happens. We'll come to Niger and we'll see for ourselves. I'm sorry. I need to bust in. I'm sorry. We do not.
I want you to keep tapped with Niger. Once we finish election and we are sworn in, I want you to come close to Niger so that you can keep us on our
I'd
base.
like to thank you very much for coming on the program this night. Honorable Mohammed Umar Bago, governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress from Niger State. I do wish you best of luck in your current campaign, and hopefully we'll see how things go. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that's it on tonight's episode of the program. Do remember, like we told you at the top of the hour, that the governorship and state houses of assembly elections has been moved, shifted, postponed now to March 18, not the previously scheduled dates of March 11. I'll see you again tomorrow, God willing, and same time as usual, 10:30 p.m. Until then, do have a lovely night. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. See you.